What did you want to be when you grew up?
Me? All I ever wanted to be was a rock star.
All I ever wanted to be was a mom. Let me take you back.
Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Yeah, this is it. Go! 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 Yeah, this is it. Go!
I became a mom at the age of 19. I know. I can't believe they let me take her home from the hospital. But I not only became a mom at 19, I would have my second child a year and a half later. Unfortunately, but not surprisingly, that marriage did not last. I would soon be a single mom with two beautiful little girls, and I was 21 years old. Wasn't long after that, I got married again. I had my first son. After 6.5 years, that marriage failed as well. So now I'm a single mom, 3 kids, and I'm working 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And during this time, I had several conversations with God. And I would talk to the man upstairs and I would say, if you are going to bring anybody else into my life, they need to be good to my kids. That's all I kept on asking for. That's all I wanted. Now, hear me when I tell you, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Now, one night, while I was working in the grocery store, somebody slammed a 6-pack of beer on the counter in an attempt to get my attention. When I looked up, it was this guy. Now, I knew him because we had been friends for 13 years. In fact, he was the first person I met when I moved to Las Vegas from Maine. We worked together in a grocery store, and quite frankly, I thought he was the best looking guy I had ever seen. So good looking, in fact, I thought I never had a prayer that he would ask me out. Of course, he was so good looking, he'd never go out with me. Well, what happened is we would both go our separate ways, but now I'm single, and he also was single. He had been divorced. He had 2 children, a 6-year-old little boy whose name was Justin, and he was severely handicapped. And he had a 2-year-old daughter, Lauren. Now, that night, we decided we were going to go have dinner. We were going to finish this conversation.
Just friends.
Just friends. Just friends catching up. Now, after that dinner, somebody decided it would be a good idea if we started dating. I, on the other hand, was extremely reluctant. I thought we had been friends for 13 years. If we start dating and it doesn't work out, we probably would no longer be friends. I was afraid of losing this guy as my friend. But he was pretty persistent. And I reluctantly agreed, and we started dating. So after 5 months, Joe asked me to marry him. And I was very reluctant, hesitant, afraid, all of the above. I just wouldn't answer him. I thought for sure this was a recipe for disaster. I was already a single mom, 3 kids, working 3 jobs. Now I was asked to bring him into my life along with his son. I just thought this was a recipe for disaster. How could this work? So I wouldn't answer him. But we continued to date. One night we had this bright idea. We were going to take our kids to the drive-in movies. I had a minivan, and the older kids all were up on top of the minivan, camped out to watch the movie. We had Justin lying in the back on a bench seat, and I couldn't even tell you what the movie was we were watching. It seemed every 5 minutes one of the kids needed something. Go to the bathroom, they needed something to eat, and each time they had to climb down through the windows into our laps to get whatever they needed. I just was sitting there like, oh, any minute I expected Joe to say, that's it. We're going home. Nobody is even watching the movie. But instead, I look over at him and he actually appears to be having a good time. That's when I said, that's it. All right. If this is your idea of a good time, I will marry you because this is my life. This is exactly what my life is like. So he was like, really? And then he started crying. So that was the night I accepted his marriage proposal.
You know, I'll tell you a little bit about Justin. When Justin was a newborn, as parents, we did what all parents do. You know, we took him in to his doctor appointments and, you know, got him his vaccinations and did all those things. And my wife at the time had gone back to work. So we had enlisted the help of a next door neighbor who ran a home daycare center for kids. Well, she had a little boy who liked to run in and pull the covers off the kids while they were sleeping. And one day, I'm at work, my wife is at work, and her little boy ran in to pull the covers off of Justin. She went back to chase him out, and that's when she found Justin. He had just started to turn blue around the lips. He had suffered a sudden infant death, he had suffered an apnea episode. In other words, he went through a sudden infant death syndrome, crib death, but they resuscitated him. She called 911, started CPR. He was transported to the hospital and put in an induced coma so they could control the swelling in his brain. He spent 21 days in that coma, and when he was brought out, he was basically a newborn, and he would remain so for the rest of his life. So he was a newborn all the time.
Joe and I were married January 1st, 1990. And what I soon learned from Justin is that not everybody is put here on earth to learn. Some people are sent to us to teach. Justin taught us and our children so many things.
He taught them patience, he taught them empathy, compassion, caring for others. He taught them that there are people on this earth that that are special needs, and he taught them how to care for them.
By my children witnessing Joe caring for Justin, they learned unconditional love. You have to understand, Joe would basically operate every single day on just a couple hours of sleep. He would work, come home, sleep for a couple hours, have to wake up, get Justin ready, put him on the bus, and he would come, when he came home, he had to get up again. It was always broken sleep. He was always operating on empty, but he never stopped. And my children saw that unconditional love because, you know what? Justin was never able to say, thanks, Dad. Justin was never able to say, I love you, Dad. So by him not being able to say those things, he actually taught my children so much. My children are better humans by having Justin in their life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, let's fast forward. 8 years into our marriage, we woke up to the worst day of our lives. Joe and I got up, typical morning, get the kids ready for school. We headed out of our bedroom. Joe went into the family room where Justin slept. He slept in a day bed there, so he could always be part of the family. He could hear the voices, the activity. He was never in a room alone. And as we went out, he had to turn around and go back because he remembered that the remote control in the family room, the batteries were dead. And he went back to get the one out of the bedroom because it worked out there as well. So while he was doing that, I'm walking down the hall to wake the two little ones up. I go into one of their rooms, and when I left to go into the other room, I hear this blood-curdling scream. Nobody had to tell me what happened. I could tell by the sound of Joe's voice exactly what was going on. So I walked back out. Joe is collapsed on the floor in grief next to Justin's bed. And I knew I had to step up and take over because Joe was so full of grief, there was nothing he could do except grieve. I had to pick up the phone and call 911 and tell him our little boy was dead. And within minutes, although it seemed much longer, the police came, the fire department came.
Paramedics came.
Paramedics. They declared Justin dead. And while we were waiting for them to arrive, we had the two little ones go in and say goodbye to their brother. And as you can imagine, this was everything after that was so difficult. Planning a funeral, getting through the loss. Austin probably wasn't quite sure what was going on, but he just knew his daddy was really upset. Lauren, on the other hand, she was a little more aware of what just happened. So we got through that as a family. Our kids grew and they thrived. I consider my children my resume. Everything else that happens or that we do in this lifetime is just gravy, because I've already in my heart accomplished what I wanted to, and my children make me so proud. Now, let's fast forward again. Now it's my 59th birthday, and those of you who know me, I like to take the birthday month. It's just not a birthday. I celebrate the whole month. And this month, on my 59th birthday, I told Joe, you know what I want for my 60th birthday? And he's looking at me like, oh God, I can't wait to hear this. I said, no, I want to be pulling out of this town. I really wasn't much more specific than that. But that saying it out loud was saying it to the universe. And so he was on board. We didn't really have quite a plan yet, but we knew that's what our goal was. Well, a month later, after I had traveled, I came down with a virus, and I didn't get over it. It was like a week, and I told Joe, you need to take me to the ER because something's not right. So we go to the ER, and they ran some blood tests, and after the blood work was done, this snarky little ER doctor comes in the room, and he says, has anybody ever told you that you have a low white blood count? And I'm like, no. He goes, well, you do. And you need to follow up with your primary care physician so they can rule out leukemia. And Joe and I were like, oh my goodness, I think somebody just punched us in the gut. We did not see that coming. And we're like, you know, you've heard leukemia, but what is it? We had a lot to learn. I had been so healthy, I didn't even have a primary care physician at the time. So we had to go get one. Then we had referrals. Then we had tests. And after about 3 months, they finally diagnosed me with this syndrome. I think it AMS, acute
myeloid syndrome. I think that's what
and they said eventually most people who have that get leukemia.
They should just call it pre-leukemia, like pre-diabetic.
Right. And we started discussing our options. Now, we were going to a doctor here, but not getting the answers or the results that we were looking for.
Well, because they weren't offering any options.
No, exactly. So we decided we wanted a second opinion, and we wanted to go to the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix. They wanted to send us in California, but we pretty much insisted we wanted to go to the Mayo Clinic. So we went down there and met with the team, and then we got some options. We were told about they could put me into remission by using chemo, and then they would watch me and wait for it to come back.
And it would come back.
They had no doubt it would come back.
And it would come back worse.
And then they could put me in remission again, and they could play that game until...
And it would come back.
Yeah, until they couldn't do it anymore.
Until they couldn't put her in remission no more.
Or we could have a bone marrow transplant. And that was the only cure for leukemia. I really didn't ask many more questions.
You know, it might be important to note that when they were given her options, I mean, I was there. When they were giving her options, I told her, this is not my life. Yes, it will have, whatever happens is going to have a big effect on my life. But this is your life. I can't tell you how to live your life. I can't tell you what I think you should do. I can't even tell you what I want you to do. Whatever you do decide to do, I will back you 100%. Because as your partner, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what we're here for each other. That's why we're here for each other. So she opted for the bone marrow transplant.
And once we made that decision, then they had to find me a donor. They had to find me a match. And I was very fortunate that my older sister was an exact match. And we started the process. We prepared to move to Phoenix for 4 months while they did the treatment, the transplant and the recovery. We had to figure out how to pay our bills here and
Pay our bills there.
pay our bills there, all while Joe was out of work. And yes, it was a little stressful, but I want to know that angels came into our lives from all different places, and they are the people who got us through it, and we are forever grateful for them. Now, I just recently celebrated 2 years in remission, and we are very happy. I have 3 more years to go before they can officially call me cured.
But her doctor did say she is absolutely normal. That if she gets sick, it would be as if I got sick. So in my mind, she's cured.
And the further I go away from the date of my transplant, the less likely leukemia will return.
Right.
So we got 2 years down, 3 to go. We're not sweating it because everything's looking outstanding. Now, recently, we started on that journey again.
Well, and actually, we didn't really start again because during this whole time, we continually kept that dream alive. We continually fed that. We continually looked at options. We continually looked at RVs. We continually planned on places we were going to go and things we were going to do.
Purged things from our home
And
constantly.
all the time, getting rid of things from our house. So the dream never died.
No.
We kept it alive, which was
Yeah.
important.
Yes.
Because it gave us something to focus on down the road.
And actually, when I was laying in the hospital bed during the absolute worst part of the treatment, when it, quite honestly, it would have been easier to quit and give up than to keep on fighting. Joe would tell me to lay back, close my eyes, and he would take me on a trip. So he would take the focus off my pain and my suffering and enable me just to go on a virtual trip with him. And that's what got me through the absolute worst part of the treatment. It was him and our dreams of traveling together. I'm like, that's what I want to do. So I got to keep on fighting because that's what I want to do. And it worked.
It did work.
It worked. And yes, like most things in life, it's in your head.
Yeah, I'm a smart guy. That's what
Right.
I meant.
Oh.
I was a smart guy.
That was a given. He's very smart. He married me. So, anyway, March 1st, we sold our 3,000 square foot home,
Everything in it?
got rid of everything in it, and we finally found our RV after 3 years. And now we're living in about 400 square feet,
Yep. 3,000 to 400.
and we couldn't be happier.
That's right.
We're actually taking our maiden voyage this week and start our journey as story collectors.
As story collectors. And
Our-
what is a story collector?
It's cool doing things exactly like we're doing right now, but everybody has a story. We do. And so we want to go meet people, find out what their stories are, and share them with the world.
Yep.
Right?
Makes sense.
And
Makes sense.
we
So
couldn't.
although we're going to be going places, the places that we're going have an intent not to just sightsee, but to meet a lot of the people that are in this great country of ours.
Right. And if you're still watching this, we thank you. And we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing without you. So if you like what you've heard and you look forward to other people's stories, go ahead, click the subscribe button and then click on that little bell,
Ring that little bell.
and you'll get notified every time we put a video out or somebody's new story. So today, make it great, because tomorrow is never promised. And be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
That's right. We hope you guys follow along. We hope you are here for the next video. Thank you for watching.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.